Hey, welcome back to Super Freak and welcome to my final episode with you for the year. I'll be taking a wee little break over the holiday season. So today I thought it would be fun to do a little review of my year. And I do mean little, not like a long laundry list review, just a one-word review to sum up the feelings, the thoughts, the challenges, the highs, the lows, the everything, the biggest high, the biggest low. I have a little bit of love to give you, and I'll get to the one word to sum it all up a little later once I've told you what the high and the low was. But before I get started on any of that, no matter where you are, where you're listening from right now, I just want you to stop and take a breath. It's the end of the calendar year. No matter what has happened for you, no matter what's to come, no matter if you're in the trenches, if your heart is aching, if life feels broken, or if this was a fabulous year filled with prosperity, joy, opportunities, inspiration, success, no matter what, it's the end. It's the end of the calendar year. It's time to hit the refresh button. Now, why, you might be asking, would I ask you to do that at the end of an amazing year? Well, this is where my martial arts training once again comes into the game. You see, my senseis used to have this rule, and it was because in the game of martial arts and sports, one can very easily get a big head when they are the winner. We all know that in this game, maybe it's the ring, maybe it's life, sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down, sometimes we're the fly, sometimes we're the windscreen. And the most important thing is that we keep our character in check more than anything. We are grateful, we learn, we do our best to continue staying on top of our game, replicating success, but we don't dwell on it or let it get in the way of the real game, which is, of course, to be strong in character. So we used to have this rule in martial arts. After a big tournament like a world championships or a nationals, we had 24 hours to get it out of our system. Go and celebrate, commiserate, then back to training, the real work come Monday. I still apply this philosophy today in my review, in my launches, in my scary, stretchy challenges and endeavors. My aim is to, number one, not decide how it's going until it's over. In review time, stay focused until the end. Don't decide it's working or it's not working while it's not over. Stay focused. And number two, not to make too much meaning of it, whether it was good or bad, whether it was positive or negative, whether it went the way I wanted or it didn't. We're only ever comparing things in retrospect anyway. So think about it like this. If you're an investor, the biggest mistake you can make is to think that you can predict the market. Investors know this. To decide, oh, it's up. And it's going to keep going up because the last few days or the weeks, the trend has been up. This is when we make speculative decisions instead of sticking to a long-term strategy and not letting the drama of the day or the market, good or bad, sway us from the long-term vision. The other thing we do is go, oh my gosh, it's at the bottom, it's headed down, and we freak out and we sell everything, worried that it's never going to go back up again. And the reason people do this is because they're speculating forward based on what's happened in the past, when nobody can predict or know what is about to happen. Many other reasons too, obviously, like ego and fear, right? But for the most part, we can sum it up in speculating forward, which no one can do. And sometimes when things are going really well, we rest on our laurels. We get sloppy. We don't look at what's working. We bludge on the basics, and we can get ourselves in trouble down the track. I have done this many times. We can also, if things aren't going great, speculate forward. Start having fear about the future, decide that we're never going to get there, it's never going to be good enough, and take ourselves completely out of the game when you never really know when the tables will turn. I have also done this many times. It might look like things are going one way, but until it's done, we don't know. Certainty is a wonderful quality to possess, but really, truly, nothing is certain. And certainty works until it blinds you from taking care of the basics. So 24 hours was the rule. Celebrate or commiserate, but then we look ahead. I like this. I've always liked this. I do my best to remember it. I'm also human, which is why scheduling regular reviews to remind myself to do it is really important to me, because it's really easy to get caught up in thinking, oh my gosh, it's not working when you're still in the middle of something. Now, if you've been listening to my podcast for some time, you know that I'm not really a fan of all the new year, new you, hoo-ha, even the amount of timely planning content that comes out about now, even though I've got some coming for you, because next episode we'll get into that, right? I plan on destroying New Year's resolutions forever for you. But I do love a good personal review. I do them often, weekly and seasonally, in fact, because looking back, we can learn. We take memories and we take lessons from the past, and we can transcend what's happened, include what worked, let go of what doesn't, and move on. So weekly, I sit down in the quiet, clear all my inboxes, and get honest with myself about what worked, what didn't, plan the week accordingly, which doesn't take very much time, but it's a really valuable short process. Seasonally, I take an entire day to myself to review the last 90 days, plan the next 90 days, not in too much detail, just setting my sails in the direction I want to go so I can focus on that larger long-term strategy amidst the chaos of the weather that I will inevitably go through in the next 90 days. 90 days is a really long time. A season is a long time. It's 3 whole months. It's enough time to start a project and finish it. It's enough time to start, quit, forget that you ever started, decide to keep going again, come back and still complete it. It's enough time that you can see results, and it's short enough that you can pivot inside of a year. I love 90 days. I love it. And I don't mean to really talk about myself in this episode so much, just that I think sometimes it serves us to know what other people are doing and how they think and why they think, so that you can, do it for yourself. Pick up what works and lose what doesn't. Anyway, this is a review about my year, so I am talking about myself this episode, but I hope you can find something useful out of it too. So with that, let's get to the review. Here's my end of year podcast, my 24 hours to celebrate, commiserate, and move on. So let's start with the best bit. This year has had some amazing bits. I think the highlight of my year, for sure, was we got to travel for the first time in 2 years to another country. My highlight was seeing one of my oldest and dearest friends marry the love of her life in a beautiful stone barn in the Cotswolds, and then taking a 2-week road trip to Scotland with my husband for our delayed honeymoon as well. We got married in 2021. And it was just an unforgettable trip. Being able to travel again was just so good. It was so good. I'm so grateful that we got to go, on an adventure. Travel just does something for me. So to be able to combine those two wonderful events together was just so incredible, And to be able to see my friend after 4 years and spend some time with who I call my English family in England, I will cherish those moments forever. They are far too far and few between. But there were some other incredible highlights this year as well. My sister also got married in an epic ceremony on their property, and it absolutely poured. It was actually so fun. It was so incredibly fun. And they're expecting next year in 2023. I also became a godmother to my beautiful nephew, Elijah. And looking back, I went on quite a few little trips away and holidays with family and friends for racing, off-road racing, surfing, meditation, and just plain old catch-ups. And I really felt this year that so many of my friendships were nurtured and rekindled, and that felt so special after 2 years of isolation, really. G'day, my friends. Before we go any further in today's episode, firstly, I want to say thank you for being here with me this year. It's been so fun to jump on the mic and share a bit of my world from here in the bush with you, wherever you are around the world. I want to let you know that if you're looking for something to stretch you, challenge you, guide you, expand you, and transform you in the new year, I'd like to invite you to check out 2 ways that you can work with me. If you'd like to receive coaching from me, I invite you to check out the Fierce Salon. This is a 6-month coaching experience that I have hosted for 7 years now, which trains my clients to accelerate their results for the rest of their lives. And if you're someone who is curious about how I do what I do, my thinking underneath what I'm saying, and you'd like to be able to do that with others yourself, there is still time and space to join us for Be Your Own Coach, my NLP Immersive, this year. I am going to pop the websites for everything down below in the show notes. Now let's get back to the episode. Okay, now for the lowlights. I would say mentally and physically, I found this year to be really, really hard. I'd say the low this year was discovering that I need surgery for something before I can really get my health and fitness to where I want it to go. And of course, living regionally, that's not an easy feat. The medical system in Australia in general is incredible. But me, first world Hayley, living in a rural area, I'm a little impatient and it's a little slow and it's hard to navigate. So I haven't solved the problem yet. And that bothers me because I don't feel the most vibrant that I could, and it's been dragging on for a little longer. It was also super challenging in that my responsibilities in my business have really grown, and I think the knock-on effect of my health has impacted my energy and my focus, and I don't think I've been as much of a proactive leader this year as I've wanted to be. It's felt a lot like I've been more reactive, which does not feel good. And I've made a couple of bad investments, a few things didn't go to plan, and I've had to have some really hard conversations, all of which I know will lead eventually to really good outcomes, but it's in process. And it's been a little disheartening at times, even though I do say a lot, don't judge how it's going till it's over. Sometimes I've wondered, how long is this going to go on for? And sometimes I feel like I'm just putting in a lot more effort than the results I've been seeing in the last year. And that has been quite tiring, to be perfectly honest. So it's been a wonderful year. There have been many things in between the highs and the lows. But if I get really honest, I think about one word that really sums up this year. It's gone very quickly. I would say this year was a year of contraction. Now, while that sounds negative and it doesn't really feel comfortable, it does feel fitting. It feels right. It feels honest. And it feels helpful. The beautiful thing about this and about contraction is I was chatting to a fellow coach recently who reminded me that in nature, expansion follows contraction as predictably as night follows day. The last time I felt this way, there were a lot of wonderful blossoming growth and enjoyment things on the other side of it. I've had many seasons of contraction in my life, in my business, in my world, and this was one of them. And it's still going. And I know in my heart, seeing contraction from a 30,000 foot view is very productive, to see it in perspective of expansion and contraction working together as part of nature. I remind myself, and if you too feel like you've had a year of contraction, not to speculate negatively forward, but to remain curious and open. Rather than seeing contraction as something negative, see it as neutral. It could be the arrow being pulled back by the bow in preparation to soar towards your target. It could be something you learn from that will serve you for the rest of your life. It could be just the slowdown that you need to make all your T's signed, crossed, and your I's, I didn't even say that right. What is it? It could be something that you need to make sure all your T's and I's are crossed and dotted before you go to the next level. It could be setting you up with a new foundation or to be poised for something to come that you don't even know exists yet. It might not be over, but you might not know when, but nobody knows what's ahead, right? It's up to us to just make the most. And we start in the most important 6 inches of our lives, the ones between your ears. So getting honest, contraction, it does usually precede expansion. If you have had a year of expansion, celebrate and ground yourself now. Build on your momentum, but stay focused. Your blunt Auntie Hayley is here to remind you, don't let yourself get a big head and forget the basics, right? Build on your momentum by reviewing, learning, taking the memories, transcending, and casting the vision forward again. The calendar year is over. So that's it from me, my friends. That is my 2022 Super Freak review, and that's the end of the 2022 podcast. I'll be taking a short break and I'll be back with a brand new episode for 2023 on the 4th of January. So I hope that wherever you are, no matter who you are, whatever 2022 has uncovered for you, that you will have a safe and happy holiday season and find enjoyment in the little things. I encourage you to take a little bit of a review as well. You don't have to go all the way in. Just pick a high, pick a low, pick a word, get honest. Give yourself 24 hours if you need to celebrate and commiserate and enjoy. Until then, stay curious, stay open. Everything you want is so much closer than you think. So thanks for being with me, and I'll see you in the new year.